Welcome back. Finally today, with art nearly around every corner here in Charleston, what better way to round out our time celebrating what makes America so special? The unsung heroes being featured at one of the nation's oldest arts organizations, the Gibbes Museum of Art. We caught up with President and CEO Dr. Alex Rich.
The exhibition is called Mary Whyte, Salt of the Earth, and it quite literally is about the salt of the earth, about everyday Americans. And Mary Whyte is one of the most celebrated artists nationally and certainly regionally, and her following is great. People are flocking to our galleries right now to see her representation of 26 American portraits. And she's traveled the country speaking with folks from big towns and small towns and people who are right here in Charleston and throughout South Carolina and literally the middle of the country. She went to like the middle point of America to try to just showcase what life is like for everyday workers, for quotidian moments, everything about what we would even call like impressions of America at this moment in time, and they're beautiful watercolors as well. Yes. And that's what's so remarkable is her technique.
And while we often celebrate the masters of oil and sculpture, the fluidity and unpredictability of watercolor heightens the experience.
One, with watercolor, you have to be a completely meticulous artist. And as you're suggesting, Mary is as fine an artist as one can imagine. You look at her paintings, and most people would assume they're oil paintings.
That's right.
But you look closely and you realize that all the whites is actually, that's the paper. So the negative space is the white of the paper. You have to be so precise, you can't make a mistake with watercolor. You cannot paint over it, you can't pick up the oil, you can't remix the colors. It's a one go and you're done with it. So she's so meticulous. I think the attention she gives to her portrait subject matter is echoed by the precision with which she paints those paintings. So I think watercolor speaks so well to that because there's something expressive, dynamic, so intentional about the use of watercolor. And I think the idea that she spends so much time thinking about who she is painting and about the stories that she's hoping to tell. And I think that really is perfect for the watercolor medium because also it lends our attention to it. You as a viewer are not just looking at a painting and saying, oh, well, that's an oyster catcher, or that is, a woman who is a fortune cookie maker. You notice that and the technique, and it lends so much greater credence to the stories that she's telling through her beautiful portraits.
And one might ask, why celebrate the everyday American?
I think as we arrive at America's 250, right, there's so many different narratives that we can tell. We can look back 250 years ago, but we can also look at where the United States is today. For good, bad, however you want to interpret our history, we look through Mary Whyte's paintings at people who are living their lives today, serving a purpose that is meaningful to them, who are sometimes lost in their own thoughts. Some of the figures address us directly, and so we are brought into the life of the painting. That's an open narrative painting. Others are lost in their own contemplation, and we wonder, what are they wondering about? What else is distracting them? What goes beyond the world that she has displayed there? And it's important for us at this time with American history to think about how individual lives are impacted by, politics or the social world or just everyday culture of the towns and cities people live in. We will not gain complete insight into those figures. There's not a lot of wall text to go with each of these works. We are left to just see the way that, the fortune cookie maker. We are left to add our own narrative elements to these scenes of very real people. And I think it's important for us to think about who the real Americans are, not just spectral figures of celebrities or historical figures of the past. We make up the country, and this is looking at the real people of now. And they're not idealized, right? These are, again, to go back to the title, like these are the salt of the earth. There's a great sense in art history of other artists, beginning especially in the middle of the 19th century, who actually use real people as their models. And they're not trying to aggrandize their lives. They're trying to simply show this is the world they live in. And I love looking at figurative paintings. I love abstract paintings too, but when I look at figurative paintings through my art historical lens, I love to think about what is that interiority of those figures? What is the psyche? I love thinking about putting thought bubbles or speech bubbles, but mostly thought bubbles above figures' heads to wonder, what could they be thinking about? And I love that with Mary's portraiture, she gives wonderful situations for her works. We can be looking at, the Queen Street grocery store. We can be looking at a restaurant somewhere in middle America. We can be an outdoor scene. We know the situation, but we don't have all of the information that other artists might provide. We are left to have it be open-ended, and that involves us more than a painting that would give us all that information would otherwise.
Mary Whyte, Salt of the Earth, will be on display through September 27th. But before we go, a rare opportunity for French Impressionism lovers.
We have just opened up a long-term loan of 3 Monet paintings from a private collection from the Greg Turk Foundation. And when I say private collection of Monet works, these are works that are not the popularly known or publicly seen works before. So it is a great privilege for us to have a gallery where we are dedicating a focus to Monet, who is easily one of the best-known artists of all time.
You don't know art, you've heard of Monet.
Exactly, and we hope that that draws people into the museum, and then they discover Mary Whyte upstairs. Or people coming to see Mary Whyte will discover, wow, there are Monets downstairs, and then they discover Rodin's in our rotunda. Yes. But the three paintings are an 1871, 1872, and 1885 landscape. And we've actually taken that as a moment to look at Monet and cast a lens on our own permanent collection. So we've woven those paintings into our own collection, and we can see Monet's impact on American art at the turn of the 20th century.
We'll be back after this.